Yo, what's up, guys? It's Naruto here, and today I want to talk about Monster Hunter Rise and tell you guys how I feel about playing the demo and my experiences with older games and what I think is going to happen in the future because of what they added with the new trailer showing two returning monsters. Well, technically, one's new to the main series, but I'll explain in more detail. And also the returning map, well, I guess a reimagining of a map, which is really, really cool because I really liked that map as a kid. So, also, I'm going to have gameplay of me in the background playing Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak the demo, and one from like me just playing it, and one from my stream, and a little bit of the trailer just to have stuff in the background while I talk. And I'm also going to show a few images to let you guys know about what I think could make it in the future and whatnot. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Alright, so first thing first, we have to talk about actually this is a little tough. We'll talk about Goro Magala first, because his relevance of coming back is a big deal for majority of Monster Hunter 4 fans, or Monster Hunter fans in general, because he's probably one of the most popular monsters in the Monster Hunter series, like overall, because the impact he had in the Monster Hunter 4 story. And yeah, I said story. The story in 4 was really, really good. If you haven't played it, it was very, very good for a DS game. I mean, Goro Magala was a freaking, he was like a rival to the main character, like the created character that you created in 4. He was a rival to that, and he was affecting the entire world, because Goro Magala is pretty much a necromancer dragon. He can like bring stuff back from the dead, and it's even angrier. That's kind of what his whole frenzy mechanic is. Now, since he's back, I'm not sure if they're gonna add the frenzy mechanic back to other monsters, because obviously he's gonna have it, but I'm not sure if other monsters are gonna have it. If they do, there's gonna be a harder, more challenging monsters out there. They're just gonna hit way, way harder, which I think will be really, really good for the game. But that's what he brings to the table as like one of the most popular Elder Dragons ever. Now, Espinas, that's probably the most craziest thing ever, because he has not been in the main series ever. So the significance of him being added to the main series is crazy, because that means they can add literally any monster from Monster Hunter Frontier, or even maybe what was it, Explorer on the phone. That, like, they could add so much stuff to this main series now that people really wanted. Like, for instance, Baru Kurosu, I think that's how you say his name, from Monster Hunter Frontier, which is like a flying wyvern that's like an electric bird type of thing, that depending on what weapon you use, it changes how it fights with you, which is really, really cool. That's probably why it's the most popular monster in the Frontier series, at least voted in the wiki that I saw. And they could also add Akura Fushimu, which is like a giant scorpion. It does have a weird ailment that's like crystallization, because, you know, Frontier, there's like a whole bunch of other elements and stuff like that. It probably would change that for something else, unless they would add it, which would be really, really cool to have another unique like mechanic for another monster. So who knows? It would be pretty cool if, well, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be in the main game of Rise Sunbreak, but it would be cool if they added Baru Ragaru, I think they say his name. He's like a leech monster type of deal. Like, he sucks your blood and he can use that against you, or suck another monster's thing. Like, if it's a poison monster, you can use that, spray it around you and stuff. That would be really, really cool. There's a lot of monsters they can use potentially for this series, for Rise Sunbreak, and also the future. Like I said, this could affect other game series, which I think they should do. I think they should add other monsters from other series into this game and the future, like for World, because I will say this before I continue with the monsters. There was a problem I had with World, or a few problems, I guess you could say, that I feel as if other people had, which was that there was not a lot of monster variety. There was only like flying wyverns and brute wyverns, and like a few other types of variations of monsters, like no Visons, no crabs, stuff like that. And also, all the monsters that they were new, that they added, they were kind of like default. They weren't really anything special. They went for a more realistic approach, which was okay. Like, for me, as a person that played the other series, it wasn't really cool to see the new monsters as much, except for like Namiel, but that was Iceborne, and sure, Ishvalda. The rest were kind of, and Basilgroup. He's the one exception of new monsters that are really, really cool. But everything else was just kind of like generic. Like, Adnaf's is a T-Rex that breathes fire or something. Like, we don't have no Leguricruses and stuff like that. But yeah, that was my main problem with World. That, you know, obviously Sunbreak doesn't have that problem for regular Rise, but what they're doing right now with Sunbreak is a good direction for what the series should go for, which is adding crazy, insane monsters, in my opinion. Not too crazy, but also not too generic, which is what Espinas is, in my opinion, and other monsters from his series. Not all of them, because some of them are ridiculous. Like, they're a little crazy over there, but stuff like that and like old monsters that we have should be the stepping stone, like the future for World 2 or whatever they're gonna call it. That's what they should do, because Puke was cool, Adnaf is Togekidachi is like they were just they're okay monsters, not really anything super crazy. It's not like they're like I said, Ludicrous or even Espinaz or Nargacuga and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of how I felt about World, essentially. All right, back to monsters that they could add potentially for the future. I think now this I feel as if a lot of people will agree with, because this is really a very, very unique monster from 4. Najarala and Narcilla. Those two, they need to be added in a new game, like point blank period. Those are some of the most creative monsters that people have not seen, at least in a long time in a game, besides like Generations or something. So that's been a few years, or a lot actually. I think those monsters will fit in very, very well, because one of them is the only one of its species that we know about, at least, which is Najarala, which is the snake wyvern, which has a lot of cool mechanics. And Narcilla is like 1 out of maybe 2, because the other spider from Rise is like the second one. I can't think of her name right now, but those are the only 2 spiders that are literally in existence that we know about, if I believe correctly. So those 2 would be some great contenders to Rise, but I'm not sure if they'd probably be added, because Najarala probably takes a lot of work considering the body structure. So it's probably super ridiculous to work on. I think Narcilla has most likely a better chance, but probably not Najarala. Maybe in like another game, like a newer game, World 2 or whatever, they could add Najarala, but Narcilla definitely has a better chance of being DLC or the free update in Rise for sure. Now, this last monster I wanted to talk about is from Monster Hunter Explorer, and I definitely think he should get a spot, and this will probably change the main series and altogether, which is Nefu Goromodo. I think that's how you say his name. Now this monster is really, really cool. He looks like Anubis. That's his design. That's what he's based off of, and he's a desert monster that has the power of Earth, which is an element exclusive to the phone game Monster Hunter Explorer. Now, I think they should add him, because adding a new element would spice up a few things, because we've always had the same elements, fire, lightning, water, dragon, and ice. I don't know why my head became blank for these things, but yeah, we always had those same elements. It would be cool to add another element, which would be Earth, because we did have originally, I believe, in the old series, I think, we did have Wind, but for Kushala Daora, but they took that out. They scrapped that, I think. So I think it would be cool if they added another element to the game, and he does have a lot to offer, because if he adds another element to the game, he could add so much value for other like new monsters that they could create, or just give other monsters other subspecies that would make sense for their archetype, which would be really, really cool in my opinion. And it is about time for something like that to happen, honestly, because Monster Hunter, there's a thing I want to like mention real quick before I move on to my next subject, which is locations again, is that Monster Hunter we've always had, a new surprise, a new monster, this, that, and this, but we haven't had a new weapon or an element in forever. We just have not had that. There's always been like a new mechanic for like a certain monster, like, Flagship or whatever, like Malzeno, but we need like something brand new for like the entire series. If they do that, that'll give them a lot more stuff to do and focus on, or express themselves in a creative way, in my opinion. So 2 things we need: new element, new weapon. Like, come on now, it can even be Monster Hunter Frontier Tom first. Magnetic Spike probably won't fit, because you need the magnetic monsters. I don't think they're gonna do that, but yeah. Alright, now I wanted to talk about locales, because considering that they just added back the jungle map, but kind of like a reimagining of it, was a great idea, because that map, as me playing as a kid, was probably my favorite map to play in Freedom Unit, when I didn't even know how to play the game and I was bad. That was my favorite map, because it looked the prettiest. Water, there's water. I like water. Everybody likes water. That's the thing when me and my friends talk about Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter Rise has a lot of water. That's good. we like to see like jungle maps and stuff like that. So that was a great idea to make a reimagining. So that leads me to my next thing I want to talk about. What possible other maps do they have in the game? Because I'm not sure if that's all the maps. Because I remember quickly in a magazine or something, they said that they had multiple maps. So we obviously have the Malzeno map, and that has a little bit of ice, I believe, and the jungle map. So what other maps could they do? They're going to do a new map again, or a reimagining map. If they do a reimagining, I think it should either be a volcano or a desert. because I think the Malzeno map's partially ice, like I said, so they probably wouldn't do that again necessarily. So I think they would add a map like Volcano from Monster Hunter 3 because that is probably the most lava-like map I've seen in Monster Hunter game in my experience of playing Monster Hunter. Or they would add Volcano Hollow from Monster Hunter 4, which is a very, very pretty map. It's like rocky and there's lava, but there's so much, it's like you're really in a volcano, and so you can see like the smoke coming out while you're inside of it. It's a very gorgeous map, and there's like a red moon and everything. Those would be the two maps for the volcano. And for like a desert, I'm gonna have to actually pull two things from Frontier actually, because I think the old desert maps are kind of okay. They weren't really super impressive compared. I think they would either use the Gorge from Monster Hunter Frontier, because that'd be a good place to add some interesting type of monsters that we've never seen before, but I don't think that would be the case. I don't think they would add that. Or they would add the White Lakes, I believe it's called, from Frontier as well, which is a sandy map, but all the sand looks completely white. It looks really good, and it's kind of unique because it kind of reminds me of Monster Hunter Tribe desert map. That was whenever it was nighttime, all the sand would be completely white, and you would actually have to drink a hot drink because it was that cold in the desert at night. Stuff like that, I feel as if could make it back most likely. But if they did do another ice map, I'd either say it would be the snow map from Gen 1 and 2, which is Snowy Mountains, which is a very classic, nostalgic map. Or they would add Frozen Seaway from 4, which is probably the best snow map in any series, honestly. It's like one of the best ones, because it has the Aurora in the background, and it would be like a big puffy place for monsters to be at, like big monsters. Actually, now that I probably should have mentioned these two monsters that they should add, because I think this actually might happen if they do add another snow map, which would be Gammoth and Glavenus, which would finally make the Fated Four, which would be Astalos, Mitsune, Glavenus, and Gammoth, the 4 Fated Four from Generations, and they would finally be in the main series. And I think that's the thing that people would like to see, in my opinion, because they have not been together in a while. Because in World Glavenus, the rest didn't come back. Now we have Astalos and Mitsune, but are the two gonna come back for Rise Sunbreak? Who knows? Those are the two monsters that should be added. I just had to mention that. I almost forgot about that entirely. That should happen. But yeah, I think there's a high chance of them possibly making another remake or imagining for a map, because there's so much they can do with these areas. And speaking of the reimagining of the map, why I think the jungle is more of a reimagining is that they've added a whole bunch of stuff that's been there and a whole bunch of stuff that's not. Like, if you go to the pyramid section of the waterway, I like to call it, you can go underground. It feels like there's a spot to like fight some brand new monster, like an Elder Dragon or something, that's never been there before, because you could never go down under the pyramid. So that is more of a reimagining type of deal. Like they just added something special. I feel as if you're definitely gonna fight a new monster that we've never seen before down there. It is a likely chance, but I think it is like a good theory though to think that, considering how it looks down under there. Some honorable mentions for some maps that this is personal, that I would like to return would be Misty Peaks and Deserted Islands, because those are from 3, and I played Freedom Unit first, but then the next game was 3 for me, so that was like a big deal for me, because like I actually kind of knew what I was doing, and then those maps had a lot of water, and I like water. And specifically Mystic Peaks, that's where Zinogre originated, so that was like my favorite monster as a kid too, because it's like a Thunderwolf, so of course. And it looked like very, I don't know, like samurai, like you're about to do like a final duel on that map with the cherry blossoms and everything, and how the moon is showing. It's just a great map, and Deserted Islands is where the Jerkus came from, you know. It was just like a great map overall for like a beginning game. It was just a good map. It's just like, you know, Monster Hunter 3 swimming mechanic in, but the maps were really good in that game, in my opinion. Okay, so now I want to talk about the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak demo, which I felt as if they did a good job on, because there was no limitations. You can keep playing it for as long as you want. You can fill it out if you really like the game. Now, first things first, the switch skills, they are very cool. Like overall, they did a great job on allowing you to switch your skill and actually be safe while you're doing it. Like, you feel as if you can, if a monster attacks, you can switch your skill and dodge their attack with the dodge button. Very good, effective move. And also the new moves that you have for your hunters, It feels great to use. I haven't used them all, but I've used, the Sword and Shield, Great Sword, and a few other ones. Well, actually, most of them, but just not like the guns. I haven't really tried those out, but they all feel really, really good. And I'm glad they're doing this to let people choose how they want to play, because even if you don't like the switch skills, you don't have to use them. You can still use however way you wanted to use the weapon originally. If you like the way you used them in regular Rise, you still can use them. You just don't have to use the switch skill at all. Because I know people were talking about that and they're mad about like, oh, Great Sword is not how it was in the past, or this and this. Well, you still can use it the way you want it to. You just a choice now for other people. If they want to use it, swing the sword like Guts from Berserk, they can now, which I think is a cool change. Overall, I think the Astalos fight was very great. I like how they added some deviant moves to him, because he didn't have, I believe, the ball move, like where he shoots a ball out. I think that was a deviant move, but that sucked you in and then he would mess you up or something. They definitely did add some moves that were like, that regular Astalos does not do that. So I thought overall his fight was great. Did a good job with him. I'm glad they put him in the jungle map to showcase it, because the jungle map, the reimagining of it is good. It's a great map. I think a lot of people are gonna like it more than the flooded jungle map that we already have in Rise, honestly, because that map, just the regular jungle map, just looks way prettier in my opinion. Because the other jungle map's more like, I want to say darker, green, like more greenish, and the old jungle, or I guess jungle map, because that's a different map entirely, is more vibrant with colors. Like you'll see a lot more in that map, which I feel some people would enjoy. Now, when it comes down to Malzeno, that fight was pretty nuts. The best way I can describe Malzeno is that like he's kind of like Bison from Street Fighter. Honestly, that's what he reminds me of the most. When I was fighting him, I'm like, man, he just did Psycho Crusher. Like he did like a spinning move, like in a circle. I'm like, that's Psycho Crusher. And then he did like Bison's Stomp too. I'm like, dude, this dude's just Bison. And a little bit of Kuma too, because he can like do like a teleport. But like, I guess Bison can do that too, but I don't know. That's just how I feel about him. Overall, I do think he's way cooler than Volcana. Like as a flagship starter for a DLC expansion, he is way cooler than Volcana, easily. His theme is good, he looks good, he does seem really, really challenging. Obviously, they had the damage scaling up to because they wanted it to be a challenge, but overall, that fight, it has a very good impression of me. I will fight him a lot, I have a feeling, because he's just too smooth. He's way too smooth. Feels very noble-like, and I like that approach, how they did it with him, considering he's supposed to be like a vampire monster. Overall, good demo. I think they did a great job with that. Okay, the final thing I actually wanted to talk about was the roadmap for Sunbreak. And I think the roadmap looks pretty good, honestly. It seems like they're gonna have several monsters every like season, which is a great idea, because compared to Monster Hunter World or Iceborne, which I do have to compare, when they added a monster, it was like only one monster every few months or something. It felt like there was nothing there. But 7 monsters is a great idea. Starting off with Lucent Nargacuga, which is from Monster Hunter Tri, which is a Nargacuga that turns invisible, which is pretty nutty considering he also had poison and he was very hard to fight in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. As my experience, he was difficult. I'll admit he was very difficult. Oh, you know what? I think he had super poison. That's probably why too. Yeah, he had like better poison, which was rough. And he also does come with the Forlorn Arena, which is a classic map from 3, which is a great idea overall. It's kind of like 3 from 1. It's a bit difficult because it's like a different variation of the arena map. So I don't know how to describe it. And then we do know we're getting, like I said, several monsters every season. But we do have like 2 blacked out monsters that I'm pretty sure most people know. I think, Rage Gaming talked about this because I watched this video about this, which he thinks is White Espinas, which is a subspecies of Espinas, does pretty much cool stuff like fire, poison, tornadoes, which he already does fire and poison, and paralyzation. Not sure if he's gonna have that in Rise Sunbreak, but we'll find out. And the other one was from Monster Hunter Explorer, which is Thunder Bubble Mitsune, which would be very cool. So if they do add that one, that does mean there's a high chance for them to add freaking the Anubis monster I was talking about earlier. So I do hope these are the cases of those monsters. And then we have, other monsters that are coming out, and then we have, even from 2023, there is going to be more content. So I'm wondering if they're going to add a map with that, because it doesn't seem like the other ones are coming with a map besides the first update. So I hope so. It would be really cool to see what else they could do to the game, because it's probably gonna be some in-game madness stuff. Like World had Fatalis, so what's gonna be like the final thing for Rise? What's gonna be the end-all be-all? Because it's gonna be an Elder Dragon, so they could do a lot. It could be Gogmaza, which is like it's only been in 4 and you've never been able to fight it again. It's like a Tar Elder Dragon, which has a Dragonator on its back, which is really crazy, and you can use it against him. Or they could add something like, well, this wouldn't be like the final monster, it'd probably be like another update, like past the final one. Dalamador, the giant snake monster, Elder Dragon, that wraps around like a mountain. That would be crazy, because we have not seen him again since 4, so some choices right there again. But it has to be it has to be like a black dragon. It most likely gonna be a black dragon for sure. So it could be a new one. I hope it's not Fatalis or White Fatalis or something. I hope it's like something either brand new or something that hasn't been in here for a while. But the ones that have not been here for a while are like, well, one of them's in water. The other ones are just Fatalises, and then you have a Latrion. So it has to be something probably new, most likely. It has to be like black dragon level of craziness. So who knows? But that's all I wanted to talk about for Rise and the future of the games. Those are the things I think that should happen, or maybe could happen in the future. They definitely do. From this video, the things you should take from this is that there should be a new weapon for the new series. Like whatever game I'm making next, there should be a new weapon, and I think there should be a new element to spice things up, because we have not had those two things in a long time. Because the last time they added a weapon was 4, and they added 2 weapons to that game, which was a DS game, which was crazy. So they might add maybe 2 weapons, maybe, possibly, and one new element. It doesn't have to be 2 or 3 or whatever. It can be just 1, because 1 is enough to spice anything up, honestly. But that's how I feel about this entire thing going on with Monster Hunter Rise and the future. There's like, since Asmonad's got in the game, pretty much they can do whatever they want. The world is their oyster. So to the crew of Monster Hunter, if anybody sees this from Capcom, I just want to let you know that you're doing a great job so far at Rise Sunbreak, and for the future, I'd say you should maybe play some of the older games too, if it'll help inspire you with some more of your monster designs, because majority of your old monsters were amazing. They had great designs, great like stories for them, like of how like they live and stuff like that, like how the Gobble is just a baby and there's like a bigger version out there in the world. You could do so much with all of those designs and maybe create something new and exciting. So I say go for it. You're doing a great job, and keep up the good work. And hopefully World 2 will surpass even Sunbreak, because you know, obviously the next game should be better than the last game. So just go for it, and hopefully things go well. Alright, well, that's all I had to say about Monster Hunter, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.